flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, for those who are paying attention and curious, Erica may join us in progress, Bill will not. So that means we have to agree on everything, no pressure. Or we can table things as needed. We'll begin with the second item of the agenda, the consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, which would include the minutes from the September 18th school board meeting minutes. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. Do we want to move on to the class of 2024 senior trip in case there are any special student representatives that want to get that out of the way?
That would be me.
Or are we waiting on other folks?
I think there is one more student who's gonna come.
Okay, so we will move that. We'll keep it as is. We'll move to the business report.
Oh, sorry. It's okay, I'm here for other things as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry, can you tell me your name?
Hannah Wickham, I'm the student council secretary.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, we'll move on then to the business report, which I believe belongs to Ms. Patty.
Excellent. Well, I don't have a lot to talk about tonight. The only thing that I did bring back was transportation.
Yep.
As requested by the board, I did update the spreadsheet that we went over last spring when we purchased the transit van. And of course, prices have increased compared to what Myers were charging us at the last school year to what they're charging us this school year. So what I had proposed, the last meeting still stands. In my position, I guess my job is to bring forth if I see any inefficiencies or ways to save money for the district. And what I see is outsourcing with Myers is costing us over $70,000 a year. If we were to purchase a minivan to transport this student and hire a driver for an AM, PM run would save us $50,000 a year to the budget. So that was my proposal at the last meeting. We still have one other run that I want to hold off on. We can talk about that in non-public, the changes on that, or what's happening right now. But currently, like last spring, we purchased the transit van. And that van is available during the day for any additional use for other activities within the district. So I didn't know if the board had any other questions beyond.
The van that we did purchase, how well used is it now? How many drivers do we have?
We have two part-time drivers. One who is our coordinator, who is also our trainer. They both just work part-time. So right now, for the most part, one is doing AM run, one is doing PM run. And they are available during the day for like impact students, any of our students that are doing things in town. We have some kids that don't stay for the whole day, that need to be run home, you know, different scenarios. But they have to be here, obviously. We have almost 30 students that have to be transported due to IEP in the morning and the afternoon. And some students start coming home. Some students start coming home as early as 2 o'clock. So that van, you know, starts early in the morning until school starts, and then it starts rolling again at 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
But do we ever find that it can't be used when it should be used because of a driver shortage?
No.
And if we were to get another van, would that require more drivers.
That will require yes, we would hire another part-time driver. That would be a totally different driver. We would not use our current drivers.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
what do you have for backups if that driver's out sick, or or does the plan to build up substitute drivers, I guess?
Yeah,
you'd
I
call
mean, and that's something that Michelle is working on now, is to find someone, possibly someone who's retired, that could just be like a sub driver, or something like that. I mean, that's what we're working on now. But our backup plan would be to hire Myers. If we didn't have a substitute driver, it would be to just hire Myers for the day or what have you.
And that's something they can do kind of on the fly?
They have been able to, as of now, when we've needed them.
Would this, from in terms of how we schedule, how we do scheduling, would another van add any additional need for staffing, stipends, administrative support, anything of the like?
No, this would
Substitute
just
driver.
strictly be just hiring that driver. And our plan was, what Kelly and I were hoping was to work this person into a para position, so that maybe this person could work full-time, come into the building, work
This
as a
person
para.
meaning the driver?
Yeah,
And forgive me if you already broke this down, but I don't see it in the document. Can you outline the savings that will actualize this year from the van that we already purchased compared to last year?
last year we purchased, this year is, we have 31,869, so about $32,000 we're saving this year on
And that,
van one.
that's including the cost of purchasing the van.
We purchased the van last year.
Right, but I'm saying, is that 32,000 net, or is that? We had to pay something for the van.
Yes,
Are we already making money, or are we still making, or is the savings that we're getting paying for the cost of the van functionally? How long is it gonna take us to realize the savings, I guess is the question.
the van cost us what was it, 58? I think the van cost us 56 or 58,000 in June. So if we had paid for it this year, we would have had a loss this year. But we paid for it last year because we had $43,000 in our transportation.
So the 32,000 is just a reduction in the contract with whoever, a reduction in the amount of runs.
We had, the 32,000 is because we had budgeted for Myers.
Okay.
But obviously, we don't have that contract with Myers for that run this year.
The only question I have, and it's not really a question, it's just more about philosophy of this, is our town, for the most part, and I'm sure that there's exceptions to this, but they will put on as a warrant article, a new police car, a new fire truck, a new dump truck for the town works. My concern is, again, the optics with the public. I understand the savings, I get that. It's the optics with the public as to whether or not they are going to want to know why we didn't put it as a warrant article and let the community vote whether we need the van or not, versus giving authority to buy another van. So we've already bought 2 vehicles without putting it as a warrant article. We're trying to get a school built. My worry is we do too much of this, and now the town is not such an advocate on the bigger project that we're trying to do in Lakeway. And even though it seems small and it might be only a $35,000 van,
Right.
it's
Right.
the optics within our community and how they interpret that and how they look at that compared to how the town spends their money or the town requests of the community to vote.
Right.
So that's the only thing at this point, I mean, the dollars, thank you for doing that. It makes sense. To me now, it's just the optics in the public eye.
And
So if I could just say, so, Greg, if the board votes it down tonight, that's exactly what we would ask you
Yeah.
going forward, is how you want us to address this need.
Yeah.
And certainly the article is one way.
But is there a litmus test for what makes it to a warrant article or not? 'Cause I remember this argument coming up last time, and you've been here a lot longer and a lot smarter than I am. But it
Well,
just seems we're,
And since I've been here, we bought a new truck and we bought a van. I think that's about all we bought for vehicles in the 12 years or the 10 years that I've been on the board. So I don't know. Al, you might know historically what we've done.
like, does the town do that with their vehicles because they're required to because of a particular kind of asset, or just because they don't have the budget? Because we're obviously looking at it, if Patty's math checks out, it's saving the town money. So to ask them permission to save money seems kind of like an interesting thing.
And the town puts everything on the warrant article, so
But is that because they have to, or because?
no, they've just been kind of, I think, pressured in that direction.
So as far as purchases, years ago, we purchased a truck, and then this is recent purchase of a truck, so some 20 years later, and then the van.
That first truck all the way back when dinosaurs roamed, was that a warrant article as well, or was that just a thought?
I don't remember if it was, but it was a two-wheel drive truck, and you try getting up and down these roads in the winter. Largest purchase.
So we're a no on purchasing a two-wheel drive van.
Well, and are these vans all-wheel drive?
They're all wheel
Okay.
drive. They're all, and we specifically buy them winter tires too.
Yeah.
And we rotate them on and off, but, I mean, I would say if it came to replacement, because at that point, we're not in a savings situation. We're actually, asking to raise and appropriate funds to
Right.
replace a vehicle. Maybe,
So then it's an impact to the tax base.
Right.
As opposed to if we incorporate it into the budget for which we've been given responsibility.
right, I mean, I do see your point,
Yeah, It's just about the optics at this
Yeah.
point, and whether or not that harms what we're trying to do with the
Mhm.
school. Again, even though it's in comparison to the price tag of the school, it's nothing.
right.
Uh,
I mean, I just feel a responsibility when I see things like this to bring it to your attention, in a way to save money. I know it could be potentially another staff member. It could be another position combined with another position that we still need to fill, We're not sure yet, depending on the person we hire. Yes, another vehicle to manage, it's another layer of work for people. It truly is. Would it be easier just to continue paying the contract? Absolutely. But is that the most efficient, cheapest way to do it to save the community money? No. So I just feel that it's my obligation and my responsibility and my position to bring that to your attention. So that's what I have done.
I was at White Mountain Regional last week for soccer, and I pulled in and parked between two vans, and there was a third or a fourth, so they've got 3 or 4 vans in the parking lot just at the high school. So you can see that there's been a growing need in transportation, because those vans weren't in that parking lot 2 years ago. There might have been 1, but there weren't 4. And they're all similar to the vans that we have.
And and unfortunately, that's the direction we're going because of the cost to outsource and the growing cost. If we were paying what we were paying 2 or 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't be coming to you and asking you because of the additional work. And weighing that out, it would be so close that I'd be like, well, hands off, But the growing cost of that sole source that we have, I just think it's not responsible.
So Patty, going forward, you do have plans to talk to the other school districts so that we can maximize the use of the vans. You want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, and truly, it is White Mountains and ourselves that have been reactive to this and taken it upon ourselves to save the monies. So, and there are a couple trips that we may be crossing, but it's other districts that may be jumping on board with us that we may be able to generate revenue and utilize our vans. And transporting other district students with us and generate revenue with our vans. So that's the type of thing we're talking about. So it's not that there's a lot of districts out there, but as this starts, we may be able to have, with the collaboration, that maybe another district will purchase another one so that we can all work together. And people will start to realize that it's not so bad to own a van or two. And we can earn money from each other and collaborate. So, and we never know what's gonna happen next year. We may have another student that we need to transport. So it's constantly changing, constantly. And we can talk in more detail about the other situation in non-public, but this one student that I'm talking about now, we will have for a few more years, so.
Any comments from our student representative or questions?
Out of the moment though.
Very well. So, it's only three of us. That would mean one of you would need the motion and one of you would need the second. So, let me, hold on, let me pull up the right.
You have the motion with the.
Looking for a motion to authorize the business administrator to purchase district vehicles for student services needs as presented. I think I would recommend that motion is worded too broadly.
Yes.
But I can't make a motion, so.
So, all right, so I will make a motion to, I don't know, can I read what you have there?
Yeah.
Because I'm in a lot of.
Maybe vehicle,
So let's see, a motion to authorize the business administrator to purchase a district vehicle for student transportation needs as presented.
Mhm.
Not vehicles plural, but vehicles.
yeah, I won't go
singular.
by 10, I
Yeah.
promise.
And,
Yeah, not in perpetuity, in perpetuity.
not in particular, just for this one thing, anytime you'd like, we would.
Yeah.
Expect.
Any discussion?
No, the only thing I want to mention is that I think it would be in the best interest of the district and the best interest of the board as we head into budget season, that maybe you highlight this savings with the budget committee.
Yeah,
And then in
absolutely.
turn at the public sessions, but we have the hearing,
Yeah.
the budget hearing, and then even at the deliberative session,
Mhm.
to get ahead of any questions that come back.
Yeah.
I think it would be worthwhile.
Yeah,
And that I think will
absolutely.
help, it'll help show that, like you said, you are doing your financial responsibility without it negatively, hopefully not negatively impacting the other projects we have coming down the pipeline.
We will, absolutely.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. So sticking with the VA report, if we can, Ms. Patty. I know there's one topic you want to talk about, non-public, do that. But in public, can we talk about preparation for budget season? I know it's referenced in your report.
Yes. So the whole administrative team, including myself, and I'm sure Joanne, just wanted to know if the board had any guidance for us, any direction, as we are building, like we are actively building the budget right now. Any guidance for us on that?
Normally, what we talk to the board about is a level funded budget or a level service budget, and you know those are two different ones because we have costs that go up on an annual basis. Or if the board is interested in making improvements or reductions in some areas, but some kind of like bumpers so that we know where our decision-making lies. I haven't worked with the budget committee yet, but we do have that on the calendar at the end of the month. And I look forward to that process, but just a couple of words from you would be really helpful.
Yeah, so I think there's gotta be a conversation on the strategic approach, but also the tactical approach too. Sheena, the reference to budget stuff are on the calendar, we already have meetings with them set up? Okay, it was like Wednesdays or something?
No, I think they were like Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I know, I thought they were Wednesdays too, but they're Tuesdays on the calendar.
Traditionally, it's been kind of along with what they have scheduled.
So-
But if we need to ask them to be flexible, I don't think we have. I don't
So
think
that's
wrong.
beginning after our next meeting?
Yes, we will meet one more time.
Okay, so
October 24th.
my thought would be that for my 33%, since they're not here, we should have that as a dedicated topic for the next board meeting, so that you can present, Joanne and Patty, kind of your preliminary thoughts. In the board last time took a stand on level funded as opposed to level service. And then the budget committee begged us to spend more money. And so I think we'll want to talk about that based on what you're currently seeing and what the roll-off ESSER looks like, and what the perspective is from the building admins. But then also talk about just the general approach with the budget committee. Because I think the board, at least in previous iterations, there were some things that we didn't like about the way that we had approached the budget committee in recent cycles. So I think that's probably all worth talking about. But I think to start from somewhere, if you can bring your thoughts on kind of what you think the right approach is, because I'm sure you've done this before, what you think is the right approach, and then what you think is the state of the budget that the board needs to prepare for present.
Yeah.
That gives us something to work from. If that makes sense.
We can do that.
Is that good? Okay. Other topics for the BA report, Ms. Patty?
I don't think I have anything else for you. No, I don't think I have anything for you.
Okay. Anything else for Patty then? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on, I think, officially to item A of new business, the class of 2024 senior trip.
So we are here to ask for your permission to take our senior trip to Montreal, Canada this year.
The trip is, there would be a 2-night trip. What day are we leaving?
May 16th through the 18th.
If you're gonna, so our classes covered a couple of different locations, some of which were a little extravagant for costs. But Montreal has kind of become the overall consensus of what the majority of us would like to do. And it keeps the price tag a little lower than, say, Disney. So we took a look at the itinerary that Amanda from the travel agency had created for us, and we tweaked it a little bit. We are expecting around 48 students, right? Was the price we were looking at to round around. So that's about $575 per student, which it's not horrible. It's not, so that's fine. But yeah, it's generally what most of our class would like to do.
And there's a cap on what can come out of pocket, there's board policy, so they will be fundraising the rest. The travel agencies, Plymouth Travel, we've used for a number of years, and they do set up all the arrangements. And what I like about it, typically, Montreal and New York, the hotel arrangements are pretty far away from the action, so to speak. In Montreal, it's in Longueuil, it's off the island, there's nothing around. So it's a safe place, meaning you're not gonna lose anybody at night on their own adventures. So.
I'd like to also add that Al will be joining the seniors, which I think is a real advantage.
Well, I noted the tour of old Montreal by Old Al. So the only things I've heard, so my son did this trip in 2015, so I think that's the last time you guys at the high school probably did a trip to Montreal. It was almost, I was reading through, it was a lot of the same things I remember he did on his trip. They don't need passports or passport cards, correct?
Only if they're 19 or older. We only have 2 students who fall into that category, and we've already been speaking to them long as they're 18 or younger, we only need their birth certificate.
Okay. And the only other question I had come up at, again, soccer field this weekend,
Naturally.
is the concern that the drinking age in Canada is 18. You'll have a lot of these seniors that will be 18. What do you do in order to prevent that from becoming part of the senior trip? So I don't know if you can speak to that. And again, 2015 they went. I don't remember there being any issues in 2015, but
I know that we'll be busy the entire day from what, like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So, and we do like head checks and stuff from what I know. You want to add?
It will be made abundantly clear that should they choose to make bad decisions, they will not walk at graduation, they will not participate in graduation week activities. And most likely their parent will be called to pick them up in Canada.
I would not be a happy parent.
So I'll say
Especially
Right?
Yeah.
obviously the school rules apply.
Policies.
Other than that, I don't have any questions.
Okay, so then we are looking for a motion to approve the class of 2024 senior trip as presented.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, what a mystery. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. Have fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, no other new business at the moment, it would appear, so we're going to move on to unfinished business, beginning with the teacher residency program.
All is good. All is good, we are just finishing up this first round of observations before they have their first of 2 evaluations for this semester. So observations this week, formal evaluations the week after, because things are going very, very well.
Any questions for Kristen? Any questions from our student representative? All right, then we will move on to the Lakeway Building Committee, and I see Mr. Henry is here. I suspect that
I'm not sick, so I'm here.
he will be the guy.
So, I know you, board members have the minutes, but I will go over them for the audience. So the sewer line that we were having investigated by the town and by us has been approved for use for the new school, which is way cool because it's gonna save us at least 6 figures on the cost of the project. We're not gonna be digging up Willow Street like we were worried about. So that's a big plus. So you won't be seeing that on the list next time around, which will be good. So that's something off the list. A community meeting, October 12th, 5:30 p.m. in the Lakeway Gym. And a special thanks to Chris Kapler and the Friends of Lakeway, because they made a beautiful poster. And it shows the planned front of what Lakeway Elementary, the new Lakeway Elementary School is going to look like. And we're hoping to get a whole bunch of parents there that attend Lakeway, and also any and all parents from SAU 84 are encouraged to attend, and all the residents of Littleton are encouraged to attend. We are hopeful that we don't get 12 people show up like we did our first session in last fall. So this is everybody's decision, and we're hoping that we have engaged the town enough through the newspaper articles that we've had and so forth to get a crowd there on the 12th of October. The traffic study, so we met with the town manager last week to go over the traffic study. So the scope of work that we put out in our bid was approved by the town. They were very excited to hear that we were moving forward with a traffic study. And we were going to be studying all of the intersections that are going to be involved with the new school as well as engaging the New Hampshire Department of Transportation into the equation. We are going to have a session with New Hampshire Department of Transportation coming up. And they have some needs that they want to have answered. So stay tuned on that because we don't know exactly which way they're going. Primarily with the driveway permit, which even though it's on Crane Street, they want to be involved because the traffic flow that's going to be coming out of the school will eventually go on to some of their roadways. So that's the scoop on that one. Site borings. We sent out our contracts last week, and we're below the $15,000 line item for expenditures. We came in at $6,800 on those proposals. And we're waiting for the drilling company to let us know when they're going to be there. It's important for us to get this done because now that we have the location of where the school's going, we need to investigate what's underneath the ground in order for us to really put a detailed figure on what the site costs are going to be for the project. The other part, items that we went over was cost savings. We had our meeting with Banwell Architects, BPS, Horizons, Yetton Associates, the whole gang, all of the engineering firms that are involved in the project. And we came up with some pretty good ideas on how we can save costs. A lot of it focused on masonry because originally the design was to have an entire brick facade on all of the outside of the school. And we've opted to go up to a certain height, most likely above the windows, and then from there go with siding, a very commercially grade type of siding. That's going to cut a lot of the cost. Also, in the interior of the building, we had masonry block throughout the building, and what we're going to end up doing is go with masonry block corridors and go with gypsum board inside the classrooms. That's going to save us a bunch of money. There was a HVAC idea that was presented by Yetton Associates. There's a new type of air handling system that basically goes with filtration versus bringing in a whole bunch of outside air for required air exchanges. And what this filtration system will do is it will actually utilize the return air in the building, which is a lot warmer, to take the place of what's required for makeup air, which when you bring in like 10-degree makeup air, you have to heat it. Or if it's 90-degree makeup air, you have to cool it. So there's an opportunity for us to save a bunch of money if we go with that route. So we're studying that piece as well. Roofing, there was some slope roofs originally, and when we looked at the slope roofs, you have attic space, which then requires you to put sprinkler systems in. So we said, no, we're going to go with flat. By going with flat, which originally there was a pitch roof over the gymnasium and the cafeteria, we're going to go with flat, and we're also going to beef up the roof system there in order to do solar collectors at some point. So I think that was a very good option to investigate. GMP, that's coming. Every time I go downtown and I talk to people about the project, they want to know how many dineros is this thing going to cost us. So GMP, as you can see, we're going to be finishing that up in October, and you will be presented with the GMP budget, hopefully on the November 6th meeting. So stay tuned on that. And the Lakeway Committee, actually, we held a meeting on 9/28. And what I did do at that meeting was provided them with the slides that we're going to show for the presentation. And everyone thought they were going to be fine. So stay tuned on that. And we all know that November 20th is going to be very important because the Department of Education is going to come and speak to us at the school board meeting to go over what, if any, are financial opportunities with the state for reimbursement for the project. So we're very, going to be very interested to hear what they have to say. A couple ideas that we've thrown around is with the traffic study, we were wondering what the school board thought about us looking into perhaps not using our full-size buses to go to the elementary school. Because what I'm hearing is the buses aren't full. If we're paying for full-size buses, and if we would look at maybe an opportunity for some cost savings as well as for better traffic for Crane and so forth with the new elementary school, to start looking at maybe we downsize our buses. So if you're thinking that that would be a good idea, we could move forward with, we could work with Patty on that, and Dale, and see if there's any interest in going that route. So.
Is Barry are they looking at decreasing their bus sizes? Do you know?
And I'm aware.
Because I'm assuming if our buses are half full, that the buses further north are half full as well. I'm just curious if there's a move to shorter buses or smaller buses than the traditional size that we have now.
I'm not aware of that. I haven't heard of that trend happening up here.
Don't know unless we ask, but we're not gonna ask unless you tell us to move forward with it.
I'm not aware that our buses are half empty because we're down to 2 buses and we're supposed to have 3. So we're only doing two runs in the morning and afternoon, and we're supposed to have 3. So,
Yeah, Crystal felt that the buses were not full, but I don't know what it is at the high school side of things, but they get packed more, so. This is just a thought that we had while we were doing the traffic study.
So I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't investigate all possibilities.
Yeah.
My only perspective would be, I do not think we should pursue building a new school in a site that doesn't support full-size buses.
Well, it will support
Yeah,
the
yeah.
I
full-size
was gonna say,
buses.
'cause we can't help when visitors come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially
Visiting
where
schools
fields up
come,
there and.
they're gonna have,
Right.
And either of you have any objection to them looking into options?
And then the other part is we need to get a fair market value of existing Lakeway. And because if we, school costs us X amount of dollars and we present to the public and we say, well, we got X amount of dollars, but we're leaving and we're gonna be able to sell and bring in revenue if that's the way the town wants us to go with the old Lakeway, then we should know what that number is on there. So we would like to have you folks tell us if we can move forward on reaching out to somebody to get a fair market value for existing Lakeway. Any other questions for anybody?
There are 2 items that it appears you're seeking vote for. Did you want to speak to those 2 as well, or is that fake news?
those were actually mine.
Oh, very
And
well.
I forgot to speak to them, I'm sorry. Those were contracts that were already approved. I just forgot to seek the
Those are just
withdrawals.
appropriating funds from the account that was set up as part of the.
Yes.
article.
Yeah,
What
and
is the
he
vote?
he actually just spoke to them happening.
Right.
The contracts are signed. I just need to get permission to withdraw the funds from the fund.
So before we move to that, questions for Henry? Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very
May I
much.
ask a
Very well,
question, Henry, please?
please, go ahead.
Thank
Sure.
you. Henry, at the meeting the other day, we talked about the agenda for that night, and I know who the presenters are, but I don't know who's doing the introductions. So I wondered if we made any decisions about that.
Well, I think what should happen is Matt or Erica should welcome the audience. And then as we move along, I will introduce the players on the technical side. Who's gonna attend that on the technical side is BPS, will have their representatives there. Banwell will also be in attendance. And I asked Horizons Engineering to also be in attendance. And the reason for that is one of the slides is going to speak of the wetland study, which was very favorable to where the school's going. But there will be questions that will be asked technically that I don't feel comfortable answering because of my expertise is not in wetlands. As you recall in my presentation last time when I explained what a wetlands was.
It's squishy.
And so Will Davis is gonna be there, he's the vice president for Horizon. So, those are the folks that are gonna be there, and if there's anybody else we gotta introduce, what I've done is, in the slide presentations, whenever we got to one of our accomplishments, I have given credit to members of the community, i.e. Chief Smith, Chief Miller, and so forth, for helping us get through some of these milestones, so that we can show everyone that we're not just doing this alone, and doing it as a team effort with the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions for Henry?
I don't think so. I know that there was a lot of commotion per se about that location. So the location is like at the corner of Crane Street, or is that settled down?
The commotion was, well, when we had our community meeting, the commotion was pretty much focused from two families.
Yeah, I had, yeah.
And where the new school entrance is gonna be, is you know where MacGyver Street is, off of Crane?
Mhm.
So when you take the curve, there's that little road on the right,
Mhm.
that's where the school entrance is gonna be.
Okay.
Most of the residents at Crane Street, when we had our community meeting, there really wasn't that much anxiety. We actually have a Lakeway member who just joined us recently, who lives on Willow Street. And he's very enthusiastic about the project. So, and he works at Profile High School, so he knows what schools are all about. He's not the least bit concerned about having an elementary school in his backyard, so to say.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Commotion will never settle down. It is always.
Oh, no. I didn't know that we had gone with that. location.
Yeah, the board has sort of endorsed the idea of, we had evaluated multiple options, new build, renovation, or consolidation. We'd also looked at site options, and the board had already said if we're gonna bring something forward, it's gonna be new construction, and it's gonna be new construction at that site. Okay, then we'll look to see if anyone's willing to make a motion to withdraw $3,800 from the Lakeway Capital Reserve Fund to pay the contractor for drilling boreholes according to plan on potential building site as requested from the Lakeway Committee. So moved. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. And we're looking for a motion to withdraw $3,000 from the Lakeway Capital Reserve Fund for Horizons Engineering to complete the ledge assessment in the estimated 21 boring locations according to plan on potential building site as requested from the Lakeway Committee. So moved. Second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Correction on that amount is $6,800.
To that contractor?
No, for Horizons is part of the,
Right, he just did it.
okay.
It was 3,800 to the contractor, 3,000 to Verizon.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's two separate.
So we're good?
You're good?
Okay, so motion's been made, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. So we're good there. Thank you again, Henry. Looking forward to the 12th. All right, we will move on then to Rochelle's favorite topic, Esther.
We're good.
Esther,
Yes,
Rochelle's
good,
favorite.
good. ESER 2 is done. And all we have is ESER 3. And that's all accounted for.
Any questions for Rochelle or the superintendent on Esther? I imagine release time on which education was on for an update from the policy committee, which we don't have as of yet.
Tomorrow we hope to meet.
Okay, so we're gonna table that. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, then we will move on to unfinished business, section E, superintendent search. Kristen?
Are we moving this to, no, we were hoping that you would vote on the portrait of the superintendent that we submitted previously. And then in non-public, we would like to finish the conversation about the potential search firms.
This is in the file, portrait of superintendent. Any questions for Kristen, or I guess Travis for the superintendent? Travis, any questions for yourself? All right, so then we are seeking a motion to adopt the portrait of a superintendent job description and approve to post the position. We'll give it a pause, people will give it a second read.
Yeah.
Will there be some awkward silence for a minute?
You can tell jokes.
Anyone willing to make the motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries 3-0. And we will, as Kristen requests, talk about the potential consulting opportunities for the search. We'll get into non-public, and then any subsequent votes will happen when we return to public. We'll move on to committee reports unless there's any other new business or unfinished business. Bring the floor to the board. Okay, committee reports, personnel. Sheena, I think we'll have to meet at some point. I've got a couple of issues that I've got to bring to the personnel committee that have come to me through proper channels so that we can get those sorted. And no doubt Patty or Joy will come up with other things for us to talk about. So if we can get personnel on the calendar at some point, knowing that I'm always the problem.
When can you meet?
Never. But we can figure that out. I can do Friday virtual. I'll be in Quebec
This
City.
Friday?
I'll be in Quebec City, but I can do it virtually
Okay, we could do that.
in theory. I don't know if Travis can.
What time's good for you?
That's the after 12 for me.
Right.
Early, then it's like 1 o'clock.
Works 12:30.
12:30, 12, 1.
I just need like 5 minutes.
Oh, wait,
from the
Friday's
office.
Saturday,
Can we,
right?
no, I can meet by Zoom. Can we say,
I'll do Zoom,
1:30? Can you do 1:30? Let's do 1:30.
1:30 Zoom?
With that. All right, we'll move on to facilities. No pressure.
Nothing for facilities. Our next meeting is next Friday, the 13th. We'll have something for the next board meeting, yes.
Will you be wearing Halloween costumes?
Oh, I don't know, maybe we'll ask. If Henry will, I will.
All right, policy committee, we'll table that. We'll move on then to the student representative report.
All right, so student council right now, we've kind of consolidated with our DBMS student council, and we're working together to plan the haunted walk, which happens at the jack-o'-lantern thing in the river. So last year we had a good turnout and we made quite a bit of money from that. So this year to improve that, we're looking at what we're calling Scare School to better prepare the actors that are involved in the scaring aspect, because we got some negative feedback from that, but we're working on fixing that, and we do expect another good turnout.
Strong Monsters Inc. vibes. from
Yes, I know. That's what I said when we covered that in our meeting. We're continuing to work with the School Culture and Climate Committee. That's kind of become a subcommittee of Student Council, just to kind of work more people through those discussions and such. And then we are working towards having steady bi-weekly assemblies to increase morale and participation within the school community, 712, which often highlights the accomplishments and achievements of students, as well as what's coming up, big things people need to know about, sports, such. Homecoming, yeah.
Homecoming went well.
Homecoming did go very well.
That was the first time that student council really kind of spearheaded some of the planning and whatnot, so.
I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, no, kids did a great job managing all that, and the logistics of it, so. A lot of fun. We got big plans for next year too.
What else can the board do to support your work?
I don't think we need much support right now. Do you have anything?
We're in pretty good shape.
I was asking him.
I mean, we haven't run into anything that we need additional support on, but we will keep you posted if we do.
Any questions for our student representative? Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
What do we need to do?
All right.
You know how. Thank you, Sheila.
Of course, if you log into Gmail and you have bad emails about it, you're not going to see it.
Oh, right. That's true. Oh, wait, this is somebody else. Is this? Who's email am I in?
I'm not going to look.
Oh, that's tech support. Okay, let me. Yeah.
There you go.
That would be easier.
And then is there a clicker I can use to move through it? Yeah, on top. I see it.
This one?
Let's give it a go, see what happens.
Yeah. So just, there we go. Wait, oh, you know what you're doing, that's good.
Sometimes in useful, not always.
There we go.
Works.
Yeah, works great, thank you. So today is officially the first day of the National Custodian Appreciation Day, October 2nd. Last board meeting, we did report out to the board that Patty and Dale and I met, and we are planning a special luncheon for all of the custodians on October 25th. And we've scheduled it at a time where the custodians who work in the evening will be able to overlap at lunchtime. We'd like to invite board members to join us if you'd like. We have a little program that we have planned for them, and I don't know how public I want to be about that right now, as well as a little gift from the board in recognition of all their work. And today, I have to say, both the high school, middle school, and the elementary school did a great job collectively and individually recognizing and thanking the custodians. So announcements and celebrations, I have a handout here to make sure each of the board member has it. There's an annual delegates assembly on October 14th. And this offers the members of the New Hampshire School Boards Association an opportunity to submit, to discuss, debate, and vote on resolutions and statements of belief of your association. These resolutions will frame the legislative advocacy. So if you're interested and you're able, I think it's always a good idea to get involved with the larger organization so that you can have influence over the legislative action. Next.
Oh, it only worked for one slide? Oh, man.
It did work,
There was so much promise.
I know.
Speaking of so much promise. I'll be fan of. All
Thank
good.
you.
Well, that's not working either.
Oh, good way.
Okay,
Is that the right one?
yeah, that's the right one, thank you. So civic education in action in the Littleton School District is alive and well. As you may know, over the past couple of years, the state legislators in their wisdom have provided some direction and some framing of how they would like to see civic education happen in the elementary level, middle, and high school level. And last week at Lakewood Elementary School, I had the opportunity to visit all of the first grade classrooms. And their focus of their curriculum is what it means to be a member of a larger community. So the first graders had created some questions ahead of time for the principal and vice principal, but they didn't really know the superintendent was going to join them. And so in this discussion, you know, they wanted to know a lot about what do you do as a principal? What do you do as a vice principal? But the big question is, who's your boss? Right? That's always important. Who's your boss? And then they wanted to know, what's a superintendent? What do you do? So I basically, you know, they kind of shook their head when Crystal said a couple of things, but when I said I call snow days, now that really brought down the house. But in true form, they wanted to know who the superintendent's boss was. So I went on to describe, well, there are actually 5 of them, and they are school board members. And the kids looked at me and they were very confused. And then Crystal said, you know what they think, don't you? And I said, no. And she pointed to the bulletin board. So they think the school board is really the bulletin board. So we haven't completed our curriculum yet at the first grade level, but I wanted you to know that we will be talking to the first graders about what the school board does. All of the kids were fully engaged and they were interested in the discussion, and hopefully we're going to be answering that question of who's the boss of the superintendent. Ooh, pardon? It worked this time, yes. It was your magic. So at the last board meeting, I think there was a question about the student assistance program at the high school. And when Al and I started to talk about this, we thought, well, you know, this is really nested in a larger discussion around our school counseling program. And it's not just a high school conversation, but it's really K-12, because when each of you were going to school, your school counselors did much different work than they are doing today. So we not only have school counselors, but we have a variety of other positions that interact in the department to help provide the support that our students need. But tonight, we just wanted to highlight specifically what the SAP does. So the purpose of this program is really to provide prevention, information, and substance misuse intervention to students in grades 7 through 12. So one of the things that this individual does is to provide information to parents, to students, and to staff. They provide referrals to community-based services. They assist the administration to implement all of our policies around misuse. And in fact, when we were talking about the senior trip, hopefully we will not have to refer to that policy, but there are policies around that. They work with students to address their decision-making skills, stress and anger management, problem solving, and peer pressure. They also work with us to screen students for potential problems with substances, and they facilitate student leadership and coalition groups, such as YLTA and the YWYLD, and the alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, I believe is what ATOG means, that really support prevention efforts. So from this point, I asked Al to address how students are referred and how parents are involved.
Well, first of all, we're part of the Student Assistance Network around the state. There are presently 35 schools are actually funded by this network. There are 35 schools funded. There are 29 SAP coordinators, and there's actually 5 new schools that have demonstrated interest. And the program that we use is Project Success, which is a project that curriculum that is used all around the state. So it isn't just one person in Littleton doing what they want. It's very, very coordinated around the state. And how are students referred? There are a number of ways that students could be referred. They could be referred by their parents. Unfortunately, some students, some sometimes make poor decisions, and that's the referral. And sometimes, through our procedures here at school, they may be referred, but please be sure that any student that is referred, there is a parental contact requesting permission from that parent for our SAP counselor to work with that student. So, again, there's a number of levels. We like this person to do a lot of preventative work. So you also see them in the cafeteria, providing information, just being a person in school that's seen as someone who can support them. And again, we've done a lot of work with our counseling services, so all the counselors understand what their role is, what their lane is, and not to exceed that lane. For example, the SAP counselor, just as described by Joanne, has a clear set of guidelines, what they should be talking to the student about. If it's anything that is more serious than that, if you want, that's obviously some serious information there, but more serious, that person has to make a referral out to our clinician here at school. So they have a responsibility, to have a set of standards that they have to adhere to, and they shouldn't be exceeding that. You know, I'm a firm believer that the more we communicate with parents, the better. Example, if a student is caught vaping in the bathroom, there's obviously a parental conversation about what the discipline is around that. And then there's a question, do you mind if your son or daughter sits down with our SAP counselor for 3 sessions? And 99% of the time, the answer is please provide those services. So very, very open dialogue.
Thanks, Al. Any questions from the board?
No, that wasn't here last time, so I think for clarification purposes, it was brought up because that permission slip was sent out to the parents, and they're all opted in unless you opt out. Is that correct?
And that is just the initial conversation in the cafeteria or something like that. Obviously, any extensive meetings with that SAP, there's going to be notification.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for the superintendent? We will then move to public input. Yes, sir.
Jeremy Brown. And so I want to just give a quick update. The previous board meeting, they approved the robotics grant. And since then, we've had a few initial meetings, and the robotics team is starting to come together with students grades 7 through 12. This weekend, the FRC, the First Robotics Competition, is holding an off-season event at Plymouth State called the Governor's Cup, which mirrors, the competitions that they would have during the regular competitive season. And we're going to get about half a dozen students and taking them down for the day on Saturday, the 7th, this Saturday, to attend that and kind of give them some insight into what a competition looks like and how the robots work. Here at the school, we're working downstairs in the tech ed space to create a robotics aviation drone type lab where we'll have all kinds of cool things for students to learn with and explore. So it should be good. Our hope is to get the team up and running and start building robots. We have a couple of events, which will be overnight events coming up in March, which those will be competitions that, for the grant, we're required to attend and compete in. So later on, once we have all that nailed down, we'll be coming to the board for approval and looking at the logistics of those overnight events. So we are also reaching out to area schools because through the First North Country project, even though we compete, they also try to build that camaraderie between the schools and robotics teams. So we may be taking short field trips to White Mountain Regional or Profile or wherever to check out their operations and get some insight into our own team. So we had a robotics team back in 2020, and we were competitive. We didn't come in last in our first competition, and had only been a team for about a month and a half. So looking forward to that same success, and also getting to the point where we can do outreach, whether it's throwing off the robots to Lakeway or the Cub Scouts or what have you. So big things in the works.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else for public input? We're gonna look for a properly worded motion to enter into non-public.
Making a motion to enter into non-public session under paragraph 2, section 3 of the RSA 91A:3 of the right to know law for number 2, the hiring of any person as a public employee. Number 3, matters which if discussed in public would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. Any others?
Negotiation.
No, which, number, is that 5?
No, but that's only for pending claims or litigation. It's not
right.
that. Yeah, so.
I think that's
I
it, so
think
2 and
it would be the one around premature knowledge. With the wording disadvantage.
Sticking with us,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
number 3,
With
okay.
number 3.
So taking with us the superintendent
Patty.
Patty and Kristen,
and
please.
Kristen, okay.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ray Cook?
Travis Howard. Matt King, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. What's up? Had a good time out in LA.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were you there for a while?
No,
You're like all over the place.
I took my father to there for a concert.
For a concert?
Yeah, in LA, yeah.
What did you see?
Eric Clapton's Crossroads Festival.
Oh, wow.
It's a good time. I suppose we better kill the live stream.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
Live stream. End stream. End.